birth of Buddha. The historical figure known as Gautama Buddha was born as Siddhartha Gautama around 563 BCE, although dates vary slightly, in the ancient kingdom of Lumbini, located in present-day Nepal. His birth is celebrated by Buddhists worldwide, marking the beginning of his journey toward enlightenment. Place of birth, Lumbini. 1. Lumbini is situated in the Rupandehi district of Nepal, close to the border with India. 1. It is one of the 4 major pilgrimage sites for Buddhists. 2. According to Buddhist tradition, Siddhartha Gautama's mother, Queen Maya, gave birth to him while traveling to her parental home. 2. She gave birth in a garden, now known as the Lumbini Garden, holding onto a tree. 2. The event was said to have been miraculous, as Siddhartha Gautama took 7 steps immediately after birth, declaring, "I am the chief of the world and this is my last birth." Early life and the path to enlightenment. Siddhartha was born into the Shakya clan as the son of King Suddhodana and Queen Maya. He lived a sheltered, luxurious life within the confines of the palace, protected from the harsh realities of the outside world. His father, King Suddhodana, wanted Siddhartha to become a great king and did everything to shield him from experiences that might make him question his privileged life. The foresight: when Siddhartha reached adulthood, he ventured outside the palace walls. During his trips, he encountered the 4 sights that would change the course of his life. 1. An old man. Siddhartha saw a person who had aged and was frail. 2. A sick man. He saw a person suffering from illness. 3. A dead body. He encountered a funeral procession, witnessing death. 4. A wandering ascetic. He saw a monk who had renounced worldly pleasures in search of spiritual peace. These sights deeply disturbed him and made him realize that suffering, aging, sickness, and death were inevitable parts of human existence. This realization led him to question the meaning of life and the possibility of transcending such suffering. Renunciation and search for enlightenment. At the age of 29, Siddhartha decided to leave his royal life, his family, and his wealth in search of a solution to human suffering. He renounced his life as a prince and began his quest for nirvana, freedom from suffering and the cycle of birth and rebirth. He first studied under various teachers of meditation and philosophy, and practiced severe austerities. However, he eventually realized that extreme self-denial was not the path to enlightenment. The middle way. After years of ascetic practices, Siddhartha adopted a balanced approach, known as the middle way, which avoids both extreme indulgence and extreme asceticism. He meditated under a Bodhi tree in Bodh Gaya, India, where he vowed not to rise until he attained enlightenment. The attainment of enlightenment. Under the Bodhi tree, Siddhartha meditated deeply for several days and nights. He faced temptations and distractions from the demon Mara, who attempted to disrupt his meditation. Despite these challenges, Siddhartha remained focused and overcame Mara's temptations. Finally, at the age of 35, Siddhartha attained nirvana, becoming the Buddha, which means the enlightened one. 1. Nirvana is the state of liberation from the cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, samsara. 1. It represents the cessation of all suffering and the realization of ultimate truth and peace. The Buddha's teachings. After achieving enlightenment, the Buddha shared his insights with others, teaching them the 4 noble truths and the Eightfold Path. 1. The 4 noble truths. Dukkha, life involves suffering and dissatisfaction. Samadaya, the cause of suffering is craving and attachment. Nirodha, there is an end to suffering, which is the cessation of craving. Magga, the way to end suffering is through the Eightfold Path. 2. The Eightfold Path: right understanding, right intentions, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These teachings form the core principles of Buddhism and guide followers on the path to enlightenment and liberation from suffering. The Buddha's life after enlightenment. After attaining enlightenment, Buddha traveled widely, teaching and gathering disciples. He spent the next 45 years of his life spreading his teachings across northern India, converting many to Buddhism, including kings, scholars, and common people. Death of the Buddha, Parinirvana. At the age of 80, the Buddha passed away in Kushinagar, India, attaining parinirvana, the final deathless state after the cessation of all suffering. This marked the end of his physical existence, but his teachings continued to inspire generations of followers. Stupas and monuments of the Buddha. The Buddha's followers built stupas and monuments to honor his memory and preserve his teachings. Stupas are dome-shaped structures that house relics or remains of the Buddha and prominent monks. Key stupas associated with the Buddha include: 1. Sanchi Stupa, India, one of the oldest and most famous stupas, built during the Maurya Empire, contains relics of the Buddha. 2. Bodh Gaya, the site of the Bodhi tree where the Buddha attained enlightenment, now home to the Mahabodhi temple. 3. Kushinagar, the site of the Buddha's death, marked by stupas and a reclining Buddha statue. 4. Lumbini, the site of the Buddha's birth, with a peaceful garden and a temple marking the birthplace. Other notable stupas and sites include Sarnath, where the Buddha gave his first sermon, and Rajar, where he preached to King Bimbisara. Conclusion: the life of the Buddha is a story of profound transformation, from a prince in a palace to an enlightened teacher who sought to alleviate the suffering of all beings. His teachings on the Four Noble Truths, the Eightfold Path, and the importance of mindfulness and compassion continue to guide millions of people in their pursuit of spiritual awakening. His stupas and memorial